and welcome. My name is Nirete Llopis. I am a soul-centered coach and wisdom traditions practitioner. I'm so grateful for you that you are tuning in, and I'm so excited to be here with you all for Heart Fire. I'm excited to share with you 5 elements, the Taoist wisdom tradition of Chinese medicine. So this wisdom tradition is really the foundation of my coaching practice. And it involves the connection of nature within us and all around us, and the phenomenons and how we as humans are nature. We're part of nature. We have the same qualities as nature. So to begin, I just want to take a moment to honor the lineage, to honor the elders, the healers, the teachers, the sages who have held this wisdom, who have shared this wisdom. And I ask that they speak through me today as I share this wisdom with you. I also want to acknowledge and thank the native Hawaii people whose land I am on. Okay, so let's get into it. I think it's really important to kind of start at the beginning and acknowledge the indigenous ancient ones who are the Taoist people. So the Taoist people are really kind of the original, the indigenous people of China, also of the Philippines, and they realized, they connected with how important our connection with nature, with earth, with the natural phenomenon is, because they believed as people from the earth, as people who lived from the earth, that it is important to continue to build this relationship and to also acknowledge that as people from the earth, we must have these different qualities within ourselves. That somehow we are connected. We are earth within our own body. We are natural phenomenon within ourselves. And so the first recognition that our Taoist ancestors realized or acknowledged was called the Li, which is patterns, that all around them, nature, the sun, the sky, the stars, the earth, the ground, all had Li, patterns. And they began to even look deeper. What are these patterns? And the first most important pattern that they came up with is yin and yang. They noticed that there is cold, there is hot. There is the sun, there is the moon, there is light, there is dark. So they started to see these polarities. And so they categorized 4 different aspects of yin and yang. And these different patterns or natural phenomenons also live within us. So the first one is opposition. Hot, cold, light, dark. So they are opposites. The second one is that they are interdependent, that you can't have one without the other, that existence actually evolves around these different polarities. The third is that they are mutually consuming. So as example, the sun comes up, as the light begins to shine, it consumes the dark. And then the fourth one is intertransformational. So with the exact timing and environment, that these opposites can actually transform into the opposing opposite. So if we think of hot and cold, if you put an excess amount of hot water with cold water, that other cold water will begin to transform and become warm. So these natural phenomenons also, again, live within us. These oppositions, these intertransformational phenomenon from the yin and yang, they began to dive deeper into the natural phenomenons and qualities of the earth around them and recognized 5 elements: water, wood, fire, earth, metal, also known as minerals. And they began to categorize and create correspondences that aligned with these different 5 elements, such as seasons, times of day, color, emotion, organs, and spiritual virtues, and more. And today we're going to talk about the human experience of these 5 elements on an emotional, physical, and spiritual level. Because these ancestors, our Eastern ancestors, our Taoist ancestors, believed that in order to truly heal, you have to heal on these 3 different levels. That these 3 different levels are what drive the healing process of a human being. So we'll start with water. The element of water represents a time of restoring, of drawing inward, reflecting. And if we think of the different qualities of water, we can see a gentle stream, a quiet reservoir, or a raging ocean. And the emotional quality that relates with water is fear. And so again, we have to kind of go back to yin and yang. What is the polarity, the opposition within fear? We have fearlessness, which again, on a polarity spectrum can be when someone is fearless and they will do things that kind of are really unsafe, that they could possibly die. So there's like this fear, like almost reckless, I would say reckless fearlessness. On the other side of that polarity of fear is the being so overwhelmed with fear that you're frozen, like frozen ice. You are so scared that you're unable to actually live and move in time and space and be able to do the things that you want to do. And so the polarity, if we come to the center, we see and we find caution, awareness, and the ability to overcome that fear or that caution in the right timing and setting. And the spiritual aspect of that is called the Z, willpower. And through this willpower of kind of stepping into the unknown, stepping into our fears, we gain wisdom. We transmute fear into wisdom. We learn from our fear. We learn from our experiences. And the organ that is connected to water, to fear, is the kidneys. And it's said that, the kidneys hold this emotion. And if we have gone through a traumatic experience that has created the emotional response of fear, and we aren't able to release that emotional, physical experience, then it can cause dis-ease to our kidneys physically or to that emotion. So we kind of stay stuck in that fear, and or to our spirit, we're not able to tap into our willpower. We're either very afraid and or we are unable to make decisions and kind of know what is good for us when we step into a fearful situation. This takes us to wood. Wood is the element and the season of spring, and it represents new growth, new vitality, birth. This is when all of the plants have began to grow, start to uproot into the earth. So from that seed, which would have been in the element of water, now it's starting to grow up. And the emotion related to wood is anger. And so again, let's look at the polarities. On one side, we have the inability to express anger. So we repress ourselves, and this creates internal conflict. We're not able to voice frustrations, irritabilities. The other side of it is our inability to express in a way that is healthy. So we express it with rage, shouting, yelling. And the balance of this would be being able to create in situations that we feel like injustice has occurred. So again, this element, a lot of times we experience anger when we feel that there is an injustice that has happened to us or to someone else. We feel angry about it. We feel irritated about it. And so it's being able to recognize this and create, make decisions and plan that will help the situation, that will help yourself, that will help others in response to the injustice. So the biggest thing about this balance is being creative. And this is actually where the spirit comes in, which is the Shen Spirit, the ethereal spirit of creation. And it represents dreaming and hoping for our future. It's also tied in with our actual dream. So when we sleep, this is our other life. And this is where the ethereal soul, a part of us, is able to dream and move to different dimensions and communicate with us. And the organ that it is associated with is the liver. And, this is something that's probably more common. And a good example of this is, you think about someone who drinks a lot. They go out to the bars. They drink, and if they have repressed anger or anger that they haven't dealt with, whether it's, repressed or rage, that anger seems to come out. So if you think about, around 1 or 3 a.m., bar fights are usually breaking out around that time. The toxins of alcohol affect the liver, because the function of the liver is to metabolize. And when we drink alcohol, it's very poisonous to the liver. And so the liver can't metabolize it, and it has to work extra hard. So it's literally overcompensating to try and metabolize this. And that overworking affects, again, our emotional, our spiritual balance. And so that imbalance shows up on a mental and spiritual level. So just to kind of wrap the wood element up, it is our ability to create. It is our ability to make decisions and plan for our future, to have hope for our future, to start new beginnings. So from wood, we move to fire. And fire is the heart of everything. It is the passion, the love, the joy. And so the emotion of fire is joy. And again, we see the polarities. So lack of joy and or an excessive joy. And so excessive joy doesn't seem that bad, right? However, anything in excess is harmful. So, for example, someone who is joyous all the time will show joy in inappropriate settings. For example, if you shared with them that, a loved one has passed away, and then they start laughing. So it's the inappropriate space and time for joy. It's not being able to connect with someone where they're at and through their experience. And so the polarity or the balance of this would be being able to give and receive joy and love when the time is appropriate, when the time is and the environment is appropriate for that. The spiritual aspect of fire is the Shen Spirit. The Shen Spirit is known as the complexity and encompassing of all of the other 5 element spirits. And it's said to be housed within the heart, which is one of the organs associated with the fire element. And so this represents our ability to give and receive love. It's our passion, it's our purpose. It's, you take the element of the spirit aspect of wood, which is being able to create and hope and dream for our future. And you take that and you put it in alignment with the Shen Spirit. And that is when you find your passion and purpose. The organs associated with fire are the heart, as I mentioned, the small intestines, the pericardium, and the triple heater. And I'm going to talk about the heart and the small intestines. So the heart is called the supreme governor or ruler of the body, just like the spirit is, the Shen Spirit. And it connects us and moves blood and nutrients throughout the whole body. The small intestines is called the separator of pure from impure. So it's literally taking in nutrients from the stomach and then filtering it. If it's healthy and nutrients based, it will go back to the body. If it's not, it will filter it to the large intestines. And so on a mental and spiritual level, this is our ability to separate what is good and what is not good for us. Thinking about the emotion of joy. Does this bring me joy or not? And being able to filter what is good and what is not good for us in our life. So these officials, also known as the organs, hold a physical function, but they also correlate to the mental and spiritual function. So I just want to relay that because I think it's really important in the healing process. And then we move to Earth. So Earth is a time, it represents late summer and the time of harvest. So it's the time where we reap what we have sowed in winter and spring and summer. And the emotion of Earth is worry. So on one side we have being a sympathy, an excessive sympathy. And on the other side, we have worry or not being able to connect or give and receive the nourishment that you need or others need. And so the balance of this would be compassion. Being compassion for yourself, compassion for others and where they are, and also creating boundaries around that. Because ultimately, Earth is about nourishment. It's about nourishing yourself. It's about nourishing other. It relates to the mother, the characteristics of the mother. And the spirit aspect of Earth is the yi, or the intellect. And again, it relates to this nourishment, this ability to have awareness of compassion. And it also relates to our ability to manifest. So as we kind of talked about in these other elements and their spirit, you have willpower that draws the force of making decisions and decisions that align with our purpose. And then we reach earth, which is the manifestation of our purpose, of our decisions, of our wisdom into our reality. It is the manifestation and the reaping of what we have put our mind, our body, and spirit, our focus into. And the organs that are associated with this are the stomach and the spleen. And so the stomach represents the ability to absorb food, right? So how, on an emotional and spiritual level, how are we able to absorb life experiences? The spleen represents the transformation, or the transportation of fluids and nutrients within the body. How are we able to transition through these life experiences? How are we able to create boundaries that nourish us? How are we able to accept? So these are really important questions that we can ask ourselves in relation to earth and to the earth within us. And the last element is metal, our minerals. Metal represents the time of completion. You've already harvested. Now what has been harvested, or what has been left on the trees, the fruits begin to rot. They begin to descend back down into the earth. And so this time of completion relates to the emotion of grief. And so when grief is imbalanced, we're able to release sadness, pain. We're able to release all of the emotions. It represents that time of completion. On the one side of polarity, if you are stuck in grief, stuck in sadness, it takes a toll on your spirit, on your immune system. On the other side of the polarity is not being able to release. So you hold. You hold the sadness. You hold the anger. You hold the fear. You hold it. So finding that balance of being able to move through the processes of our emotion is very important. And it's the human experience. And the spirit of metal relates to all of the emotions. It is the somatic processing. It is the movement of all of the emotions into completion, or into the ability to release. So through that grief. The Po spirit, also known as the corporeal soul, is our ability to breathe in inspiration. So we kind of look at the yin and yang of this. It's our ability to release, and it's our ability to receive. Inspirations from the heaven, inspiration from guides, teachers, angels, ancestors. So the organs relating to the metal element are the lungs, known as the receiver of chi, of heavenly chi. And then we have the large intestines, which is also known as the great eliminator. So we can see how the mental, physical, and spiritual align. the lungs breathe in and also release, and the large intestines receive and also release waste. So this is our ability on a mind, body, and spirit level to be able to breathe in inspiration and release what is not good for us. So these are the different qualities and aspects of the 5 elements. And I encourage you, if you're already feeling like, ooh, this is really interesting, I encourage you to learn more and read. There's so many beautiful books and resources online that you can tap into that talk about the 5 elements, because these elements are used in so many different indigenous practices all around the world. And our ancestors from all over the earth recognized the connection to elements. And I'm briefly just going to mention that within the elements, there are different cycles. The cycle of creation, how we can use our emotions and our physical and spiritual qualities to help create and inspire ourselves and others and uplift others. Or when we're stuck in an imbalance on an emotional, physical, or spiritual level, we create dis-ease, we create destruction within ourselves and within others. And it's important to remember that all healing is the unity of mind, body, and spirit. And it's important to learn how to have awareness for ourselves, learn how to listen to our bodies, our mind, our spirit, learn how to connect with nature. So if this has inspired you, or you want to learn more about what it means to connect and heal and learn about your body, your mind, your spirit, and how you can manifest and grow your relationship with your willpower, with these spiritual aspects of yourself, I invite you to check out my coaching program. I have one-on-one offerings. I have community offerings. Check out my website at nourishingnature.co. I am beyond excited and honored to share this knowledge in a deeper level with you and with others. Thank you again for joining. Thank you so much, Heartfire, for having me here today. And I just want to offer these last 30 minutes to the good of all beings. I just want to give this as an offering and gratitude and honoring of the 5 elements of this knowledge of the lineage, and to take a moment to praise the ancestors, the planets, the plants, and the people. Thank you so much, and many blessings.
He